Hey there, math fans. Test 11, Lesson 3. Grab your swords and let's go. So today we're going to talk about how to make inferences from data, which is really fun and kind of like being a detective, how to read double stem and leaf charts, and how to find areas on a map using coordinates. So first up, let's talk about how to make inferences from data. And naturally, your first question probably is, what is an inference? An inference is making logical conclusions from things you know or assume to be true. So the most famous person who did that was Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes was a fictional detective famous for his ability to deduce and infer information. So for example, in one story, Sherlock Holmes knows right away that a man he meets did manual labor means like construction or hard work with your hands, has been in China, and writes a lot. The man is very surprised and thinks Sherlock Holmes is magic, but actually all he did was look carefully and he made some inferences. So he knew that the man had worked with his hands because one hand was bigger and more muscular than the other, and that from that information he was able to infer that since when people work with their hands a lot, they often favor one hand and that hand gets strong. This guy must have done that. He knew the man had been to China because he had a Chinese tattoo and Chinese coin hanging on a chain. And he knew the man wrote a lot because one of his elbow sleeves was wearing out from resting it on the desk so much. You know how sometimes when you write with your pen, you move your elbow across the desk? Sherlock Holmes looked and saw that one of the elbows was all shiny and starting to wear out. So he was able to make all these inferences and really surprise this man just by looking carefully. And when he explains all that, this is what happens. Mr. Jabez Wilson laughed heavily. "Well, I never," said he. "I thought at first that you had done something clever, but I see there is nothing in it after all. That's your goal, is to be the person where everybody thinks you've done something clever, but really, you know, there was nothing in it after all. All you did was look carefully and figure things out from the information you were given." Okay? So in the review, you'll see a little bit more of that, but it's actually very simple and very fun, really. It just means looking carefully and making conclusions. So let's move on and talk about reading double stem and leaf charts. So here I have two stem and leaf charts. This one shows how many kids came to school per day in 2015. Obviously, it must have been a short school year. And of course, we know that this is going to be the ones columns over here on the leaves. So one day there were 100, one day there were 100, 106, 108, 111, 112, and so on. And over here I have a chart showing how many kids came to school per day in 2016. Different numbers. So this is two separate stem and leaf charts, but they're comparing the same thing, how many kids came to school. So if I want, I can put them together in a double stem and leaf chart. And the way I'm going to do that is by moving the stem into the middle. So this part, you'll notice, stays the same on both sides. So I don't really need to have it separately. What I can do is move it into the middle, and then I can put this information on either side, and I'll show you what that looks like. So to start, I'll make all of my stems over here red, just so you can see what I'm doing with them. Next, I'll get rid of the stems over here because I'm not going to need them anymore. Both of my charts are going to share these because they both had the same stem. Now I'm going to move my stem to the middle. And then I'll just move my purple guys over. So this is basically the exact same stem and leaf chart I had previously. Now the one thing I do need to change is on this side. When we do a stem and leaf chart, the smaller number is always closest to the stem. So I need to flip these around, because right now it says 108, 106, 100, 100, and I want it to go in order. I want the smaller numbers to be closer to the stem. So I'm just going to flip these around so it'll say 8600, with the leaf part getting smaller as it gets closer to the stem. So it'll look like that. And it still says the same. That still says 100, 100, 106, 108. I'm just making them so that the smaller numbers are closer to the stem. And I'll do that now for the other ones as well. Okay, so now I've done that, and I realized I have one of these in the wrong place, so I put it in the right place. So now I have a double stem and leaf chart. I just need to move my titles down a bit. Now the reason I would want to do this is it lets me do a quick comparison. So this is how many kids came to school per day in 2015. This is how many kids came to school per day in 2016. My stem is the same for both sides of the chart, but to see 2016 I read this way, and to see 2015 I read this way. So it's like I'm in Japan, reading right to left. Okay. That's all there is to a double stem and leaf chart. It just is easier sometimes to put it all into one big chart than it is to put two charts side by side. Because, for example, now I can look right away and I can see that in 2016, no kids came in the 130s, but they did in 2015. It just makes it easier to compare. And moving on to our third and final area, which will be really quick, I can find areas on a map using coordinates. So we can apply coordinate grids over maps, as you can see here. This is a map, and you can see that it's been divided into grids. And if I assign those grids letters and numbers, like A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then I can really easily tell you where to find something on this map. So if I said to you, you need to go to D4, and that's where you'll find the school, then you would know to go A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now you know the schools in this quadrant of the map, instead of having to look at the whole big map. That's particularly useful when you have a huge map. Like imagine you were looking at a map of Calgary, and you wanted to look for some specific street. It would be really hard to do if you had to look at the whole map. Often maps will have a little legend beside them, and it'll tell you what coordinate you can find a street in. And that's it. You already know how to read coordinates, so I'm just applying it here to a map. So I have a quick review for you, and you're going to pause the video and do the review, and then I have just a very, very short video, I promise, and you'll like it because it's about Minecraft. So review question 1, if you know that 3/4 of the people living in Black Forest are elves, what can you infer? Which of these makes sense given that information? So A, elves don't like to live with humans. B, only elves like forests. C, Black Forest is a popular place for elves to live. Or D, the forest is dangerous. So if you were Sherlock Holmes, which one of those would you know from hearing that 3/4 of the people living in Black Forest are elves? And number 2, from the chart on the right, which is a double stem chart, this side Monday, this side Tuesday, how many kids donated $1.20 on Tuesday? So pause here and just take a minute to finish that and then come back. So I just want to give you an example of how coordinates and grids can be used in Minecraft to find yourself. Now in Minecraft there are 3 coordinate planes instead of 2. You guys already know about the x-axis, which goes horizontally, and the y-axis, which goes vertically. But because Minecraft is a 3-dimensional space, you can move on the z-axis as well. Okay? So you don't just move left and right and up and down in Minecraft. You can also move in and out, and that's the z-axis. So given that, this is just a really short video, and it's kind of interesting, and it shows you how coordinates work in Minecraft and how you can use coordinates to find your spot in Minecraft and tell your friend exactly where you are. Unfortunately, tinyURL isn't working today, so you're going to have to use bit.ly. So it's www.bit.ly/1B capital S CPH capital C. So www.bit.ly/1B capital S CPH capital C. Go there, very short video, just kind of interesting how to use coordinate planes in Minecraft to locate yourself. That's it, see you tomorrow.